Welcome back to my car shop. Today we're going to start dissecting that spare piece of floor pan that I have and figuring out what pieces we want to use in the rear seat area of the 70 Challenger project. Let's watch the show intro and I'll see you in 30 seconds on the other side.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Cars Shop.
I wasn't even going to do this as an episode, but I did realize that a lot of you guys on the channel, and gals, aren't necessarily familiar with doing this work, and that's part of what My Car Shop is about. So if you know how to do all of this already, I hope this is entertaining. If you don't, maybe you'll learn something. So I'm a firm believer in salvaging stuff that I already have and not having to make more than I need to. Again, for those who've not been on the channel before, I know I can go out and buy all of the floor pans and so forth for the project. And I'm not doing this project to save money. I like fabrication because I enjoy doing it, and that's the purpose of this. I'm enjoying the challenge of the Challenger project. But by the same token, I also know that, especially with the economy and the shape it's in right now, is people are looking for ways to continue moving forward and doing things that they can do at a low budget and still turn out good quality work. So one of the things that I was thinking about, and if you guys would like to see this, please drop some comments down there. That would be appreciated. One of the things I've been thinking about is doing a cost estimate on what the new parts would cost versus what it's cost me for what I've made. Time to me is irrelevant. I have time to be doing these things, and yes, I'm spread amongst a bunch of projects here, but I also know that with my day life and what I do, this stress relief is very, very important to my world, and coming out here and just shutting off all of the bull crap of the world and just focusing on melting and cutting metal gives me a great reprieve from all of the garbage. And so I don't consider that wasted time. If it takes me 2 days to make a small part, I don't care, because I enjoy being lost in that process. So, and I know a lot of you get that, but some people are new to the channel. We've had so many new subscribers, I wanted to go back and reiterate. If you haven't seen some of the stuff that we've fabricated right here, check it out. Sorry, up here. I'm still learning that. You'd think after 116 episodes I would have figured that out, but it's up there. Anyway, go back and look at some of the past 10 episodes or so if you don't want to go right back to the beginning of this Challenger series, and you can see the process that I go through for fabricating that gas tank / trunk floor support, and of course the 2 pieces of frame rail that we now have installed on the car in the last 2 or 3 episodes. So you can see the kind of things that I do here. It's a huge cost savings. And if you're interested in seeing that laid out, let me know, and I'll go ahead and do some calculating on what I have into the work that I've done as far as money versus what those parts would have cost. Now you may think that's a little bit crazy, but when you look at the bigger picture of if I bought every piece for this car, how much it would cost, I would have thousands and thousands of dollars into this. And right now, for what I've fabricated, I don't even have hundreds into it. I just have time. And again, the time is something I enjoy spending. So anyway, I thought it might be beneficial today to go through and just look at this floor pan again that we looked at briefly in the last episode, and I'll walk you through the process of what I'm going to do, and then we're going to do it, and I'll share my thinking with you about each piece of that and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I know several of you have commented that you enjoy as much hearing my thought processes as you do enjoy watching the work, so I'm taking that seriously and trying to give you the content that you guys keep commenting on. So I guess if you want to see me dancing in a pink tutu, if that content is important to you, I ain't doing it. But if it's as far as related to car work, all right, let's get into it. Okay, so one of the first things that we're looking at here is salvaging as much of this as I can based upon what's here versus what is missing from the car. So as you've watched the last episodes, you will know that this piece here is in the car for the most part. This piece is actually worse than what's in the car, so that works out well. This floor pan is gone. Now over here, this one's pretty crappy, but for the most part, there's enough here that I can consider salvaging this probably up to about this point in here. So my thinking is, first of all, here, there's a little piece of frame stub that I want to get my Sawzall out and just cut off just for a template. So when I finish the very front piece of that frame rail as it blends into the floor, I have a profile for that. I have the piece, why not use that as a template? So I'll probably just buzz this off of here for now and then start cutting into this around in here, and we'll see what we can salvage out of this piece first, and I'll tell you as I get it cut out what my thinking is. I thought it would be worth stopping here and just talking briefly about what I've cut out so far. So the first piece that I cut off was the piece that has that piece of stub frame on it here, as I mentioned. And so I'm just setting that aside for right now. I don't need it. I'll cut that piece off, and then the rest of that will probably go to the scrap. Then what I did was I came in and just cut off in here where that piece of some of the floor pan was, and some of that stuff. Some of these corners I may end up using again. If I can, why remake them? I can certainly make them, but again, if I can just stitch weld these in, then why not? So I'll set that aside. I cut across up here, where that piece is, doesn't matter. Leaving the overlap, because this piece here is the one I'm trying to salvage. And I was coming up way up in here, and then I realized, no, I want this seatbelt mount, and that piece isn't in the car. So I came back down here. I can restitch this. Plus, it's a little bit weak, so this old piece of frame, I've got to buzz that off of there, get that out of the way. And the seatbelt mount is probably going to be in the way as well. But this metal here is still really in good shape, so there's no reason not to reuse it. I think I looked, in one of these underseat floor pans on one side was 75 bucks. I have one for free, just takes a little time, so why not reuse it? Like I said, the metal's still good and solid, so no reason not to. So anyway, I wanted to do this, and then I was coming back to determine where in here in the tunnel I wanted to cut this, because most of the tunnel is good, so I'm going to cut it big and then trim it to fit. But I have to deal with this plate right here. This plate is the seatbelt mount. This is where the seatbelt bolts here. Must be the, oh, this is the outside and this is the inside, I think. That's why. Okay. Anyway, I know this is where a seatbelt bolt goes down through and mounts. And so I've got to buzz the spot welds out of this. I'm going to salvage this plate and not cut it apart because I may need it. There was one in the car. It's good, but you know, why wreck something that somebody else may need too if I can help them out? Or I may need it for another project. So the next step then is I'm going to go ahead and cut this off as much as I can, and I only need this up into about here, so I'll probably figure out where I'm going to cut that off and just cut that off there. So as I mentioned in the tech tip video on spot welding, I have the spot weld drill removal tool, and I actually have 2 spot welds in here I need to remove. I've already center punched them. I'm going to go ahead and drill my 1/8" holes, and then we'll drill those spot welds out. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity for you to see it in action, and I'll get the camera over here as close as I can for that process once it's a little further along here. Well, that's interesting. Looks to me like both of those spot welds really aren't into the bracket underneath, so I don't know what's going on here. Guess I'm not going to be showing you what I thought I was. I guess I got to get out, flip it over again and get at the backside, because neither of those go into that plate like I expected, and I'm not seeing any other ones, so I'm missing something here. Okay, so I was misinformed. I took the air chisel and blew around underneath, and it's not attached. There's definitely 2 spot weld holes here, and I got a feeling that the machine was out of calibration, or it was a Friday and the guy running the spot welder was drunk, because it missed it on both sides, but they're definitely spot weld holes. So I don't know, maybe they just were, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it was just sandwiched to the floor. It's obviously welded up in here to hold that whole plate, because it's a big piece that goes all the way over here. But all we have to do now is just cut this, and this whole piece should come loose. All right, I found where it is attached here and here, so I need to drill those 2 spot welds out. So I guess you will get to see that process after all. So yeah, for some reason it's not attached down here, but I've got it 99% cut. This should be ready to come off, and I can see that it's attached in here. You'll notice I've got some rust in here. I don't care, I can cut that out, and I'll probably do a lot of the patching on this piece before I put it in the car. The other thing I've just noticed, and I don't know if you can see it, I'll show you here. Just noticed that one of the rear seat mounts is cut off. I don't know if I have another one. Yep, I do, so I'm in good shape. There's still one in the car, and there's one over there that's good. So good to go. Again, little by little, you find the pieces you need, and you start piecing things together. So I love it when a plane comes together. Having a full-time cameraman would be awesome. I know that my dad has run camera when he's been here working on the Oakland with me, and it's always a benefit that I can just forget about it and let somebody else deal with it. But, you know, I do 90% of this by myself, so this is what we deal with. Anywho, so where are we at? So I've got the seat mount off. I know I'm going to have to go in here and put a piece in. It'll be a great opportunity for me to practice some TIG welding, so I'm looking forward to that. Everything else is pretty solid. There's a piece here that I'm probably going to have to patch. Again, this is a spot where it was over that seat belt mount bracket, and it just rusted between those two. So that'll be an easy fix. We can just cut that out and weld a little piece in there. Won't take long to do that. Where, yeah, you can see over here. So there's a little bit of patching to do down in here, but the next step probably that I want to do is figure out where I'm going to cut. Matter of fact, I'm answering my own questions as I'm talking. I need to cut across here and then down and this way so that I can have the piece that I need. Confusing myself. I was thinking I had the passenger side, but this is definitely the driver's side. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I've got to cut in here and down and this way. I'll cut up behind that a little bit probably, but that's where it's kind of got to go. I want to leave myself plenty of overlap so I can cut to fit. When you saw me do John's fenders on the 66, there was one more welding technique that I hadn't shown you as far as welding in sheet metal. I may be going to go ahead and do that here. It's called cut and butt. I had kind of forgotten about it, and I watched another channel on YouTube, and the guy was doing it, and I went, oh yeah, man, I used to do that a long time ago. So it's a practice I got away from, but this might be a good opportunity to do that cut and butt technique. I'll leave that be a mystery if I decide to do it or not. But we'll see. So anyway, so I got to do some more trimming here, and then the other thing that has to happen, got a very manageable piece here now, is I want to take and just blow this old piece of frame rail off. This piece is pretty good yet, so you know, it's amazing to me how light this material is when you get it out of the car. You know, they're a unibody car, and every bit of it is part of the structure. And from feeling this, yes, it's got some surface rust. Is it a bit thinner than it was? Yeah, probably a little bit. Is it going to work? Absolutely, it's going to work just fine, because I'm only using a small patch of it here, and I might as well use what I have. Then the other thing that has to happen, besides blowing these off and trimming that down, is I need to go up in here and peel apart this piece here from the floor so that I have that overlap. I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to use in the car, but I want to have plenty of material there to make a decision when I get there. What I'm actually thinking, even though I know from the factory the floor pan overlaps on the trunk floor, I'm not looking at making a concourse car. I couldn't care two craps. I'm only concerned about function. I may lap it the other way and put this on top of that. There's no reason I couldn't, and that would solve a couple of problems. I wouldn't have to replace that piece that's already in the car, and it would still look good. So I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. You guys want to hear my thought processes? Once I get it in the car, I may completely change my thinking, but that's what I'm thinking right now. So again, we're trying to do function here. We're not building a numbers matching 426 Hemi 4-speed blah 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 blah. This is a 318 car that came out of a junk pile that had cars piled on top of it and crushed the roof and was rotted, as you've seen. And we're just taking something that nobody else would probably have messed with and putting it back together and saving a car. Alright, so I've scored it here and then down along this edge, down under here, and then I come back up again here and come across and up to here, and that will give me most of what I need. This piece I'm just going to do separately. I may just not use this at all. My only reason for wanting to use it is because of where this seatbelt mount is, but that's an easy enough thing to change anyway. And I did notice, I don't know what I did with it. Oh yeah, I didn't realize that actually this mount is part of the frame rail. No biggie, we can fix that very easily and get that mounted back under there by tagging it onto the side of the frame rail, and it'll be fine. So, you know, you overlook little things like this. If I was doing another one, I probably would remember that in the future. So hopefully, hold me to it. When I do the passenger side, if I need to replace this part, hopefully I remember to incorporate that. But if not, no big deal, and I may decide not to and just do it on the fly in the car anyway. But little things like that you discover along the way. So, next step, we'll get this cut. And you know, it's a very useful piece or usable piece. It's not bad. It's not great, but even if this piece wasn't usable and I decided not to use it, what have I just created? It was a test. I've just created a template for hand making a piece. So there's nothing here that's wasted effort and energy. Very easy now that I have this, especially since on that passenger side, there is nothing there to reference. It's gone. On the driver's side, or excuse me, on the driver's side, everything is gone. On the passenger side, there's something to reference, but to have to make that a mirror image would be doable, but a little tougher. Here, all my compound curves and everything are there. A couple little patches, good to go. So even if I don't use it, like I said, I've just created a template piece to make one from scratch if I need to. So don't be afraid to, even if you're not going to use a piece, don't be afraid to necessarily cut it out and use it as a template to make the new piece that you want.
floor cut in to fit in the car. Huge improvement, right? So now we've got a lot of trimming to do, marrying that to the car, cutting things back. It's way too big, etc., etc. But point being is we are close to where things need to be. So I've got to make a couple of decisions here about how I'm going to attach it in the floor, how much I'm going to cut out of the old floor, stuff like that. But minor things, it's a big step forward. Again, just to give you a view from the other side, what it's going to look like. That's where we're at with it. So, cool beans. So I think at this point what I want to do, I'm not going to worry about the seat mount right now. Probably going to go ahead and fix up a couple of these spots in here that need to be fixed up, straighten up this edge a little bit, get this cleaned up, get it ready to install in the car. But there's so many other things to be done in there right now. I don't want to go ahead and install this in the car yet. So I'll get it ready to go, get it rust treated, make sure that once I clean it up real good, it's not worse than I think it is. If it is, then of course we'll be making more floor, but I think this is going to be for the most part reusable and in good shape. So yeah, very nice. So I spent a little bit of time just off camera cleaning some things up, and I want to give you a little bit of a surprise and show you where things are at right now and tell you what the next steps are going to be. So we'll take you in the car. That should be a little bit of an improvement. I spent some time cleaning up the floor pan, the wheel tub, things like that. Got the piece of floor pan cleaned up that we just cut out of that other floor. It's punkier in one spot that I'll show you than I was anticipating. A couple of ways I might handle it. The other patches have to be done yet, obviously, but actually there's something here I'll show you. Hold on. So down here, you know, I mentioned I've got to put a piece in. Up in here it's a bit punky also, but we're very fortunate that I can actually, about where these holes are, I can cut this off kind of like this, because behind there, that's still good. So I'll figure out exactly where that is, put some guide holes to drill, and then that'll save a little bit of patching there, because that material is good, but I've got to go through and evaluate all of that. But that's pretty much where this piece goes, right there, like so. So that's another step forward. So, you know, I've got that other piece that I cut here that I've got to look at and determine exactly what I'm going to use and what I'm going to make. So that's going to be my next step. But I wanted to show you this. I was thinking about overlapping this over the top here. Not sure I'm going to. I'll probably cut this down this way a little bit more also. I'm not sure yet, but it kind of does fit down in there pretty nicely when you tighten it down. So other than this back corner where I don't want to patch a piece since I've already got a good piece, although I will evaluate what's there and make sure that once I get it cleaned up, it's not punkier than it looks. So the only other thing is there's a couple of pinholes down in here, those will be easy fixes. But this one out here, a little bit rustier than I was hoping. So what I may do is make a patch here, just kind of come over and incorporate it into what I'm doing up here. So I'll come down and I can bead roll this piece in with the bead roller easily enough. I gotta see if I have a bead wide enough for that. I should have, but if I don't, I can order one. Alright, so I cut a piece of scrap and I'm just here at the bead roller. I've marked out the length of that bead on the floor, and all I'm doing is just making a test piece to see if the bead's going to be adequate or not with what I can make with the dies that I have. If it is, great. If it's not, we'll get different dies. I'm not trying to be, make it perfect at all. I'm just trying to make a respectable piece here that will represent what's in the floor. Going back and forth a few times, keep cranking it down. Gonna have a little hammer and dolly work to do, and that's okay. Again, I'm not trying to make it perfectly like the factory. That's not the point here. The point is about strength in the floor and looking similar. That's all I care about. These beads are there, not for looks. There we go. That's pretty good now, I think. Okay. All right, let's see how she came out. So again, got a little bead or hammer and dolly work to do because the ends are a little bit bent, but it gave me a fairly respectable bead. And so let's go lay it over there by the floor now and see what it looks like. And I would say good enough. Use the tools I have rather than buying more. That will fit right in there nicely, and that'll make a nice piece, so I can trim that around a little bit and so forth. So the next thing I want to ponder is if I want to just replace all of this, all three of those, which I don't think I do, but being as it's got those rust pits on the other side as well, it maybe would make some sense to do that. It's plenty strong, so probably not going to. If it was weak, I wouldn't question it, but it's not. It's plenty strong. So it's just a matter of how anal I want to be about it. And that's the beautiful thing, is I have plenty of time to think about it. So one more thing I want to show you, and then we'll move forward. Alright, so the other thing that I did was that piece I mentioned, I cut, and I'm not going to use that probably, but maybe I will, I don't know. But the main thing was I wanted to know where that seatbelt hole was. And, oh, interesting. Very interesting. Just noticed something. The other side doesn't have that hole, so that was all pointless. That's out of a different year car. The seatbelt mount is here on this car. So the seatbelt mount's here, and that hole and that nut that was in the frame does not exist over there. So moot point. Don't need to mess with it. Don't need to muck with it. It's all part of the learning process as I learn an e-body, so it's all good. So the next steps that I will probably take as I work on this floor is I'm going to make a piece that probably goes all the way up in here and around and down in here. and then it'll attach probably to this, and it'll incorporate this in there as well. So just going to kind of piece it together, and the beautiful thing is when it's all done, you won't even be able to tell that it was done for the most part. Just the stuff that I do because I enjoy it and I have fun, and yeah, it saves some money. I mean, you know, why not save a couple bucks if you have the time? If you don't have the time, then don't save the money. It's always a trade-off, and if you're doing something you love, then it's not about the money, is it? Okay, so 2 things I'm going to accomplish on my next venture here is fixing that spot right there. This will be cut off, as I said, to blend into the floor. So when I put the floor in, that's what we'll do right in here. And probably going to make this piece to go in there like so, and trim this off, and then make the piece as well that goes over in here. Yeah, I think that's going to be what we do next. I could run this in the shrinker stretcher, but I could probably do just about as good a job here. Yeah, it's definitely got a little crease in it, but it'll be fine. When I get a little bit closer to where it needs to be, I will run that there. Have to be cut off, obviously, so doesn't matter, but just dollying that up a little bit, crisp up the ends just a little bit, not much. It's still buckling just a tiny bit like that, but again, it'd be easy enough just to run that in the shrinker stretcher along that edge, and once I get it cut out here, and that's what I'll do. I don't care if those ends are, you know, die formed better than that. It's close enough for what we're doing. I mean, when you put that bead in there, you're really stretching the crap out of the metal. But that's a good step forward. That's fine for what it is, and so I'll make a decision here how much further I'm going to go with this at this point. As is typical for me, I spent some time thinking and ended up just working. But I've got a workable plan here. I love this little scribe tool, but you got to make sure you take the rubber tip off of it. So I'm just tracing the outline of this patch here on there, like so, if you can see that. And so then this piece will go in here. And I'm comfortable with the rest of it. This one's pretty solid. There's just 2 little pinholes there, 2 little pinholes there. I'll weld those up and that will be fine. I'll use a technique where I put a piece of aluminum or brass on the back side so I don't burn through back here, and then bzz, 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 bzz. Or maybe I'll TIG that, but I'll probably just MIG it because it's a technique I've used, I'm familiar with. I am going to go ahead when I do this and try to TIG weld this in. I need the practice, so that'll be interesting. So I'm feeling comfortable with what I've got here now. So there'll be another patch that hopefully one of these pieces, yep, this piece here will fit for that. And so there's 2 patches to put on here and a couple little pinholes to weld up, and then this floor piece is going to be fine. So yeah, very happy with the way this is going. can see the little patch where it's going to go, and then I'll make that next piece all as one, so it'll be like a big L-shaped piece. I'm thinking I'll probably put it in the car as two pieces and then join it together, but I'll have it, obviously set to go. So there you go. I just looked at the clock and it is much later than I expected, so I'm going to have to call it quits. So the next session on this car, I think, before I tackle the passenger side frame rail, I am going to finish making that piece of floor that needs to be made, and then go ahead and weld in the two patches on the piece that we got prepped today and get that ready to put in. Again, until I'm further along on the project, I'm not putting these in the car. I want to be darn sure there's nothing else that needs to be done under there. But I figured, what the heck, I might as well go ahead and do some work. So good progress. Let's take you around to the other side, give you another view. So there you go. I'm pleased that the bead roller dies that I have are close enough that I don't have to buy a bigger one. I was quite surprised how much movement I'm getting out of that bead roller. Let me take you over there and explain what I mean. I'm not complaining that it doesn't do the job, it does, but one thing that I noticed in cutting this big wide bead here on this 20 gauge steel that I'm using on the floor, this top piece was moving back and forth a lot, and that surprised me. That you can see it, even here. Now I'm not using the full depth of this, so I have an idea that I think I'm going to make a collar that'll just drop over here and just be like a big C shape that goes all the way down to kind of keep those from moving like that. And then as I go deeper, I can just move it down if I need to, or remove it. There's no point in allowing that to flex like it does, and I don't know why they made it the way they did. I mean, I get it. I get why they made it the way they did, so that you can do a piece that's pretty deep. And if it was 24 gauge steel, it wouldn't be doing that at all, probably. But being 20 gauge is fairly thick, and that's what I'm using on the floor. I can't even imagine what it would do with 16. Well, I can. I did do a test piece on there, and it did move around quite a bit also. I haven't had this tool that long. I've used a lot of other bead rollers in the past, but this was the one I purchased. I'm not displeased with it at all, but it just surprised me. So yeah, I think what I'll do is make sometime out of plate steel, I'll make a piece that just drops over here to tie the top to the bottom. It won't bolt, and it'll just be slipping in there. That way, when I'm not doing deep pieces, it will help keep that from doing that flexing as much. Just probably make it a little bit better. There you go. When you do a lot of fabricating, you do end up with a lot of pieces and parts laying around, and I encourage people to keep this stuff. I have a piece here that's a compound corner that I may not use on the Challenger project at all, and yet what an incredible piece it would be if I needed a piece that was similar to this somewhere else in a fabrication project. I don't have to make this, I can just cut this out. So if you're doing floor pans, cab corners, things like that, keep pieces like that around. This old chunk of frame rail has been laying outside the front of the barn as an eyesore for quite a while, or chunk of floor pan, sorry, for quite a while. But I knew I was going to eventually use it either as a pattern or as in the car, and quite frankly, most of it's salvageable, so I'm going to use it. But the pieces that are left over, the spring shackle mounts or the spring perch mounts, other pieces, I'll keep for the future or for somebody else that might need it. So that kind of goes with fabricating, where a lot of guys keep parts. And I mean, I've got a barn here that's full of Mopar parts upstairs on both sides, engine parts, and you name it. I've got gobs and gobs of it here from over the years. I also keep a lot of old sheet metal parts around that I can scavenge for parts that I can use that I don't have to make again and reinvent the wheel. So it's all about saving a little bit of time, which sounds funny, I know, because people think I'm just taking way too much time to do this, but again, I love the challenge of, can I? When I tubbed the 68 GTS, that was part of the challenge for me was, can I do this?
That was 25 years ago, probably, close to that. And each challenge along the way, the 47 Ford was a different set of challenges. I like pushing my limits on what I'm capable of making with my own hands. So, I would encourage you, don't be overwhelmed and intimidated. So what if you screw it up? It was no good anyway, right? So, it's not about always saving money. It's just about the escape, as I said, the challenge, the fun of it all. So as I mentioned, I'm out of time for today. I didn't realize it was pushing dinner time and I need to get cleaned up and start making dinner tonight. So I need to knock it off. And as always, I share a day's work in the shop with you, which means some days we take on a project and we get it from start to completion. Other days it's like today where you get however long this is of just what I'm doing. And that's really kind of what I want the channel to be. That's what I keep hearing from you guys, is that you really like the process, not so much just the completed. And quite frankly, the thoughts of moving over to the passenger side, starting all over again, doing that frame rail. It's not that it's intimidating at all, but it's like I need something that's going to encourage me emotionally, and to be able to, as I'm working, look over and see what I've done today with the floor pans and what I'm hopefully going to do in the next session to get those done and have those ready to go in. That's what keeps me motivated, is seeing that next bite in the elephant and it's bitten off and it's something I don't have to deal with anymore. So as always, thank you for being here. We're getting new subscribers every day. The channel's growing like crazy. I think we have a niche here that is unique to the Mopar world, and some of the other things we're doing. We have Fords, we have GM, but in the fabricating world, I don't think there's a lot of guys that are doing this. I know a few other channels that do, but specifically on unibody cars, I think that makes us a bit unique. So drop some comments down there. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, tell me what you'd like to see, ask your questions. A bunch of you, and I can't even say everybody by name right now, just incredible in answering my questions and offering suggestions and so forth. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate the private messages, the emails, the texts for those who do that, who know my number. You guys just really keep me motivated and keep me going. I'm trying to churn out 3 episodes a week right now, which is a big undertaking, but I think we can do that and still keep life on track. So as always, if you're on Facebook and on Instagram, /MyCarsShop, just like YouTube, /MyCarsShop. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Don't go anywhere. There's lots more episodes. I think we published our 116th episode on Saturday when we did the Oakland. So there's plenty more to see of paint, body, fabricating, engine work, carburetor work, you name it, there's a lot here. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Please tell others, spread the word. If you're on social media pages that you think people might enjoy this, please feel free to share the link. We want to continue to grow the channel so that we can offer you more and more of the content that you're liking. Smash the bell for notifications. And as always, rock.